Thank you for tuning into the Life Mod podcast with Dr. Gonzalez. I am Dr. Orlando Gonzalez, and we're coming to you today live from the studios in our New York City office on 24 West 57th Street. For those of you who are local in the Northeast region, in the New York region, stop by and say hi to us. This is really one of our Life Mod offices, our flagship Life Mod office in New York City. It's beautiful. It's very close to our Central Park location, and we're coming to you today live from that office. So I'd like to welcome our viewership out there. And we are also extremely excited to let you know that you guys are really finding us a very popular podcast, and we're trying our best to try to instruct you and give you some really good life-saving, life-extending tips when we do these podcasts, not only on anti-aging and wellness, but on health and wealth and how to get yourself to live a longer life span, but in healthy years. And you've made us very popular, so we'd like to thank everybody for listening in. Again, I am Dr. Gonzalez, and today we're going to do probably like a 15 to 20-minute podcast. It won't take too long, I promise, but I will tell you that you are going to be extremely excited and informed after while you're listening to the podcast, for sure. And then afterwards, you're going to be stimulated because we're going to talk today about a very controversial topic. Really one of my favorite topics out there to talk about, and definitely one of the basic tenets of Life Mod and our Life Mod philosophy. As you know, I am the director of and founder of Life Mod. It's a program that we established and founded here in the New York City area in 2009. It stands for Lifestyle Modification, and our program really what it does is that we look at it as an anti-aging wellness program, but it's really a way of life. It's a philosophy. We call it the Life Mod way, or the Life Mod philosophy. And by the end of this year, by the way, we have our first book that's going to be out, titled The Life Mod Way. And I think you'll once it comes out, I encourage you all to read it, because I think it's going to be very instructional and very informative as to what we do that's completely different. This is why we're revolutionizing healthcare. As you know, those of you who have been devotee followers, you know that I am a physician. I'm a medical doctor. I do ortho and sports medicine in the Northeast region in New Jersey and New York. And the reason that I am so passionate about all this is because as a physician, I was always trained to take care of a problem. We were always fixing something that had already happened. We were always working with a broken arm. We were always broken with an inflamed tendon. We were always working with a broken and torn ligament. And even in primary care, which I do some of, you're always, fixing that, those symptoms of the cold and the symptoms of getting sick and having a bellyache. And we're never really, not that we're not taught in medical school, but we never really practice the concept of prevention. And so Life Mod was created in 2009 to show people that there's a way of life, the Life Mod way, the Life Mod philosophy, that you can live for your own self. It's individualized to you, that will make you healthier, that will create health in your body, that will allow your body to heal itself, so you don't have to always run to the doctor. It'll allow your body to metabolize better, become a more efficient machine, so that you're not tired, you have a lot of energy, you're fixing your body, you're healing yourself, and you're not always chasing your tail, if you will, trying to get better. Why am I not feeling good? Why am I overweight? Why do I have back pain? Why do I have no energy? Why do I not feel like having sex? Why do I not feel like running? Or these feelings that we're supposed to all have, that our human design allows us and dictates that we should be full of energy, and we should be able to heal ourselves, and we should be able to have boundless amounts of focus and mental focus and energy. And so, anyway, that's Life Model in a nutshell. And of course, you for those of you who've been following us, we have tons of podcasts out there on exactly what it is. We try to break down every single podcast. We try to talk about one specific topic that is part of the Life Mod way, and that is why I'm coming here today to you. We want to talk about one of my favorite topics, and here it is. It's called intermittent fasting. All right, for those of you who have never heard of it, I'm sure you've heard of it because it's kind of big now, especially here in the Northeast region. I know people. It's a regional. I don't even want to call it a fad, but I'm going to call it a fad because that's what it is right now. People are really kind of jumping on the bandwagon of intermittent fasting. And then the pockets in the country where it's kind of really big right now, it's in Miami, it's in LA, it's in New York City, and points in between like Chicago, definitely. But people are getting kind of excited about this. What is it? We haven't heard about it. Is it good? Is it bad? I know that people have heard about fasting, but most of the connotations with fasting have not been good. Or there are also the connotations of, it's a religious sort of practice, and we don't really think about fasting in terms of health. But I'm going to talk a little bit today about that specifically. Look at the word fasting. You all know what that means. Basically, fasting means that we don't eat or we eat very little for any period of time. And so that's really a fast. Most people who, when you think of a fast, you think about, your religious, spiritual fast where, it's either the Good Friday or whatever. In the Jewish religion, there's a lot of celebration days that include fasting, and also in Islam there's a few. So that's what you usually think of a fast. Now, when you combine intermittent fasting, the word intermittent there obviously means that this is not continuous, that we are fasting intermittently. So that is what I'm going to talk about today. I am a huge fan of intermittent fasting, just to tell you all right off the bat. And when we created Life Mod and the Life Mod way and the Life Mod philosophy, we looked at one of the biggest things that we talk about all the time, as you guys who follow us know, is the concept of the human design. The way that we were created, the way we were designed as humans, is that we weren't really meant to have these regular meals. We just were not created that way, and we had to choose, hunt our food. When we ate, we had to choose whether or not we wanted to go hunt the food or we had to pick it from a tree. But it wasn't like food was just readily available like it is now, obviously. And so there were invariably times intermittently that we went without food. And the whole concept of intermittent fasting obviously was very sort of aligned with our human design initially. Obviously, we now are told by everyone that we need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we can't skip breakfast, and we shouldn't skip dinner, and all these, sort of dumb concepts, to be honest with you. And that's why I'm so excited about this today. In 2014, just this past year, there was a study that was done by Longo and Matson, who decided that they were going to do a very good placebo, double-blinded study on intermittent fasting and its role in adaptive cellular responses. Turns out that their theory was, as is mine, that intermittent fasting has a big role in adaptive cellular responses that will reduce oxidative damage and inflammation. Intermittent fasting optimizes energy metabolism. It also bolsters cellular production. And it also, I believe, is very interesting because it also extends life. It really it produces longevity in most of the organisms that it's been studied. And so intermittent fasting was thought and is thought to protect against all sorts of chronic ailments like diabetes and cancers and heart disease and neurodegenerations and hypertension and obesity and asthma and arthritis and low back pain and so on and so on and so forth. So I'm very excited about this topic or the study, I should say, because it sort of proved what I've always thought. The study proved that and suggests actually that there are some major possible benefits to human health with intermittent fasting. The study actually showed the following: showed that intermittent fasting may function as a form of nutritional hormesis, and we can talk about what hormesis means. But basically, if you intermittently fast, or people who intermittently fast, tend to be more sort of stable with their hormones: testosterone, estrogen, thyroid stimulating hormone, and even the vitamin levels, your vitamin B12 and vitamin D's, seem to be a little bit more balanced in people who practice intermittent fasting. There's also, the studies have shown that fasting encourages fat oxidation. Well, that kind of makes sense. Obviously, if you're not eating, you're going to break down your own fat. But intermittent fasting has done so much for that fat oxidation. I'm not talking about you're going to break down your fat and you're going to lose weight. What happens is that once you have no food in your body freaks out a little bit and says, oh, we need energy, we need glucose to the brain, we need to keep the brain alive, we need to keep the heart alive. So it starts to break down some fat and oxidize fat, and those are processes that we currently, modern man, is not very used to. By the way, our bodies our bodies are not used to doing this because we constantly feed it. We feed our bodies all the time. And so we've gotten out of practice with becoming efficient at oxidizing fat. So these studies suggest, and I would go further and say that I'm certain, because of our anecdotal research at LifeMod, that people who practice intermittent fasting tend to be better at metabolizing and oxidizing fat and losing weight when they need to lose weight. In other words, those people who practice intermittent fasting have gotten so good at fat oxidation that when they feel like they've eaten a little bit too much, or they've gained a little bit of weight and they want to lose that weight, it's so easy for them to lose the weight because they've trained their bodies to oxidize and metabolize fat during periods of fasting. And again, most people are not used to that because, we're always constantly eating, and we're told that we need to eat every 2 or 3 hours. Another good thing about intermittent fasting and possible benefits is that you do tend to reduce your body weight. LDL tends to go down, which is your bad cholesterol, and your triglyceride levels also come down to a great degree, and that is also, those are the two bad cholesterols that you don't want to have high. That's the LDL and the triglyceride level. Your HDL, which is your good cholesterol, or your high density lipoprotein, tends to actually go up and be elevated in people who practice intermittent fasting. So that's another really good benefit. The other thing that is really interesting, and that we've noticed a lot with people with some of the research out there right now, is that intermittent fasting improves the cardiovascular and neurological systems. And that all kind of goes back to what I'm trying to tell you, is that the human design dictates that we went through periods of our life intermittently. We obviously, fasting or starving yourself is not LifeMod approved. It is completely anti-LifeMod. But that the human design dictates that our bodies would go through and should go through these periods of intermittently fasting and not eating. And I'm on the next podcast, gonna talk about what that means and what types of intermittent fasting I believe is good, and what intermittent really means. How long should you fast, and how often should you do it in a given year or in a given month or whatever. And so we're going to talk about that in a different podcast. But just to give you an idea, is that our human design was structured such that we didn't have food all the time. So when we do that nowadays, we basically are shocking our body into a very biologic, very evolutionary process or processes, because there's a lot of them that we are not used to having anymore. And what that does is that it resets your metabolism, it resets your life, it resets your body cardiovascularly, and from the neurological standpoint. This reset really allows us to optimize that system. And so that cardiovascular system and that neurological system really becomes a little bit more optimized in people who are, practice intermittent fasting. And again, we'll talk about how often you should do it. But the studies are very exciting, guys. This is so exciting for me because since 2009, when I developed LifeMod, when I would talk about the human design, and specifically the human design where it came with intermittent fasting, people would always sort of look at me and be like, what are you talking about? That's not what we were told. That's not what you should be telling people. And I will be honest, the medical community, with all of its good intentions, because I'm a physician, I can tell you this, physicians have always wanted to help. We go to medical school because we really want to help people. We want to make them feel better. We want to promote health. We want to teach you healthy ways. But unfortunately, we've become part of this American healthcare system that does not allow us and is completely not conducive to helping people in this way and show them preventative medicine. Because the real way to be healthy is not to take care of your symptom when you're already sick. The real way to be healthy is to show you ways and habits that will keep you from ever getting sick and ever getting a symptom, so you don't actually have to come to us anymore for treatment. And so I'm so excited that these studies are now coming to light. I've been a big believer of intermittent fasting, and the medical community for a long time did not embrace it. And as time goes on, it's gonna that is already changing. But I will guarantee you that it's going to completely change, given the next 5 to 10 to 7 years from now, because the studies that are coming out are so strong for intermittent fasting and the benefits that have occurred from people who practice intermittent fasting. In the next podcast, we're going to talk about a specific study that was conducted. Has shown that people actually are living longer, and not only are they living longer if they're fasting or calorie restrict, but they're also not getting sick as much. And so we're very excited to talk about that. I will tell you this, and I will leave you with this right now. Google and look up intermittent fasting. It's not, LifeMod does not generalize. So we will not tell you that it's good for everybody. But I will tell you that, you should look into it, and you might be a great candidate for intermittent fasting, and it might just extend your life. It is unbelievable what happens when you practice intermittent fasting. And LifeMod is so excited of all the research that's coming to light right now. We're going to talk about this on our next podcast a little bit more. And so with that, I'll leave you today from our studios on 24 West 57th Street in New York City. I bid you health.